Hey, it's Josephine from the Pointe shop. I'm at the ballet school in Walnut Creek today. Helena has very narrow feet and it's very compressive and very shallow. So that means that her feet kind of shrinks into a little ball when she goes up on pointe. So what happens with really compressive feet is that it drops down into the bottom of the shoe and there's a lot of big toe pain. So last time we were doing a pointe shoe fitting, we put a little cap on her big toe so it takes a little bit of pressure off of that. But after the shoe started to die, the shoe was still hurting her a little bit. So we're going to change the shape of the shoe a little bit and make sure that the pressure is off of her big toe. This is something that is very common in pointe shoes because obviously you're putting a lot of pressure and all of your body weight down to that one little toe when you stand up on pointe. And I'm going to give her more support on the sides of her foot, the wings, and make sure that she's not sliding down. So stand up for me, and we're going to stand in first position. Demi-plie. Do you feel your toes right now?
Yes.
So straighten. So since the last time I've seen Helena, she did grow a little bit as well, so that is also a culprit. Sometimes it's not even the shoe, it's not the shape or anything. Sometimes it's just that the shoes are too small. So you can even see that the shoe is cutting into her Achilles. So it's definitely a little bit too short, but I'm also going to change the model altogether. A lot of times with compressive feet, when the shoe starts to die and break down on the sides, these are called the wings, it starts to get wider on the sides and then her foot drops down to the floor. So the platform here is pretty large. But what we're going to do today is that we're going to get her something that is a little bit more tapered and has a little bit more structure on the sides so that it's holding her up a little bit more. So if you take a look at her feet, she's actually narrow, but you can't really tell when she's just normally standing because she's so compressive. She actually looks like she has fairly normal width, but when she goes inside of a pointe shoe, it just shrinks. One of our fitters and I, we always joke around that we call these octopus feet because it can fold into any little crease because your foot are so compressive, it can like slide into any little thing. So we're going to go with a slightly smaller tip here today. Go ahead and change toe pads as well. When I tried on the shoe earlier on Helena, it was pressing on the sides a little bit, so I was going to change toe pads to make sure that the wings are a little bit longer on this one. Okay, go ahead and put that on. So this is a very narrow shoe, and it's funny because the shoe actually looks a lot narrower than her feet. But again, it's because she's so compressive that she can slide in her foot into just about anything. And it's really hard to tell if something is too wide or too narrow until she tells me if this is pressing. First position, demi-plie. Is it pressing anywhere?
No.
Okay, good. So we went a little bit longer than what we had before, a little bit more tapered and slightly longer wings and slightly longer vamp. Bring your left foot up on pointe. Very good. And press up on both feet. And this wasn't part of my solution, but this is also a 3/4 shank. So a 3/4 shank kind of takes the pressure off of the bottom of the shoe, and then it brings it back to the heel because it kind of gives you a shelf for your heel to sit on top of. So it distributes the weight a little bit more even. So not all of your weight is going down to the floor. Do you feel any pain or pressure on your big toe?
No.
Okay, so she's a lot more lifted. So we're really focusing on the box here, but the shank also helps. Cross it into fifth position. And break. And she actually looks like she's getting over these shoes a lot better. Is it pressing or hurting anywhere?
No.
Perfect. So there's no pain on her big toe. There's a lot more support in the front and on the sides. And I think this is going to be a really great shoe for her. And for Helena, we're probably going to stick with tapered shoes that are a little bit harder unless her foot drastically changes. So we're going to stick with that. Come down for me. First position, and then parallel, step up onto pointe. And if you can see, this platform is a little bit smaller. And sometimes I'm a little bit concerned when I give them a smaller platform because they tend to wobble, but Helena doesn't wobble at all, so I'm very happy about that. She definitely has enough ankle strength so that she's pulling herself up. If you have to go to a smaller platform like this because you sink in your pointe shoes and you have problems with wobbling, you can also darn the edge of your platform so that it gives you a little bit more surface area to balance. So if you have any problems with your pointe shoes, if you have any problems with sinking or pain or not being able to balance or whatever it may be, leave all of your comments on the bottom and I will try to answer that in our next in our next video. I'm at Walnut Creek today, and I'm going to be heading over to Salt Lake City in just about a week or so. So if you're in Salt Lake City, I'll see you there.